When you look at the world of politics, especially in individual countries, there are some people that are evidently what's wrong with the system. They spend an extended amount of their time in their office manipulating power for their selfish interests and often escape justice. However, some people's lives are just one long cautionary tale. The life of Nicolas Sarkozy, one-time president of France, is one such example. And in this video, we're going to be looking at how Nicolas Sarkozy went from being a well-respected politician to a convicted criminal. Before Nicolas Sarkozy became a widely known public figure for both good and bad reasons, he was just a regular kid who grew up in Paris. His parents were immigrants who had Hungarian, Jewish, and French ancestry, and they got divorced when Nicolas was just 4. His father wasn't very present in his life, and according to the former president, being abandoned by his father shaped a lot of who he is today. However, the former president was influenced more by his grandfather, who practically raised him. Although his family was quite unstable, Sarkozy was born with a silver spoon. I mean, his family was wealthy on both sides. His father made a fortune from his advertising agency, while his maternal grandfather owned many mansions across the country. After his father abandoned their family, Sarkozy and his mother lived in one of his grandfather's mansions located in a very wealthy community. However, despite how affluent his family was, Sarkozy had very low self-esteem, making his school experience less pleasant than you'd expect. He was bullied severely by his schoolmates, who were wealthier and taller than him, and on top of that, he wasn't exactly the sharpest knife in the drawer. He had to repeat a couple of classes, and at one point, he was withdrawn from the prestigious high school that he was initially attending and enrolled into a private Catholic school on the other side of Paris. This did very little to improve Nicolas's academics, and he was reportedly a mediocre student at best. Regardless, Nicolas was determined to be a lawyer, and although the journey was long and tough, he made it through. After a series of exams between high school and college, some of which he had to retake, Nicolas finally passed his bar exams and became a business and family lawyer. He had a blossoming career in law and had an impressive number of powerful clients, including the Italian business tycoon Silvio Berlusconi. Nicolas Sarkozy, who was a timid young man once, now had a reputation for being a skilled orator with an intimidating charisma. Gradually, Nicolas began stepping into the public light, and mostly all of his attention was for the right reasons. He started pursuing politics, and his successful career as a lawyer gave him leverage, given that he was connected to all the right people. However, it was during his pursuit of politics that we got to see the manipulative side of the former president that we hadn't seen before. If there's anything that we can tell about Nicolas Sarkozy from his past, it's his steadfast commitment to anything that he's set to accomplish, regardless of what it takes to get there. This quality was adapted to Nicolas's old style of politics, and although this has landed him in a lot of trouble, many people still respect him for it. At the beginning of his political career, Nicolas was just a small guy in a big world trying to find his opportunity. These opportunities were initially secured by his and his mother's connection, and as a result, he landed several jobs, including as a deputy in the National Assembly. In a few years, Nicolas resumed office as mayor, making him the youngest mayor of any town in France with a population of over 50,000. He was off to a very good start. And although his connections may have gotten him there in the first place, his qualities as a politician helped him sustain these positions. Nicolas Sarkozy had a lot of other appointments along the way. He was the Minister of Finance for a short while in 2004 and a 2-time Minister of the Interior. Just before he became president of one of the most powerful countries in Europe, Nicolas Sarkozy was president of the French Conservative Party, the UMP. A position he landed by almost a unanimous vote. With almost the entire party behind his back and with many French citizens impressed by his brilliance as a politician, Nicolas became the president of France. While his leadership style was loved and respected by many, some had problems with how he ran the country. He implemented a number of policies which people thought were too reckless, and he was also considered celebrity-driven, hence the nickname Bling Bling. His marriage to his third wife, Carla Bruni, shortly after he resumed office, supported this point. Carla Bruni, an Italian singer, songwriter, and former model, wasn't your typical first lady, and this fueled the rumors that the newly elected president was chasing the celebrity lifestyle more than anything else. Critics also described President Nicolas as hyperactive for an office that required a keen sense of tradition. But in any case, he was already in office and stayed in power for 5 years. He ran for re-election, but unfortunately he lost to François Hollande of the Socialist Party. The shady parts of Nicolas Sarkozy didn't begin to unfold until after he had left office. Since he lost his re-election in 2012, he's faced many criminal accusations regarding certain events, some of which took place during his time as president. And surprise, most of these accusations revolve around corruption. They include active corruption, misuse of influence, bribery, and a couple of others. In fact, some of these allegations are so serious that he could be looking at jail time. One of the earliest scandals that Nicolas Sarkozy was caught up in was the alleged involvement of Libya in his 2007 campaign. Shortly after he resumed office in 2007, Nicolas invited Muammar Gaddafi to France despite the disapproval of other members of the government for obvious reasons. It was a bad idea for the newly elected president to be associated with Gaddafi and his infamous brand. However, Nicolas hosted him all the same. On the surface, this meeting appeared like a diplomatic visit between the governments of France and Libya, but more of the story was unveiled in 2011. Muammar Gaddafi's son, Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, said in an interview with the European news network that back in 2007, the Libyan government donated 50 million euros to Sarkozy's presidential campaign in exchange for access and favors from Nicolas Sarkozy. In light of this, it's not far-fetched to assume that Gaddafi's presence in France and the country's involvement in Libyan civil war were the favors and access that Saif al-Islam talked about. As crazy as it sounds, it's just one of the multiple criminal investigations the former French president has faced. In 2020, Nicolas Sarkozy was tried for attempting to bribe a judge to gain favors. This case originally started in 2014, 2 years after he left office, when claims started flying about that Sarkozy tried to bribe Gilbert Azebert, one of the most senior judges at the Court of Appeal. At the time, there was an ongoing investigation about the illegal sources funding Sarkozy's 2007 campaign, and this bribery was supposed to get Mr. Azebert to disclose some of the details of the case. Sarkozy, who had bribed Gilbert Azebert with a prestigious job in Monaco, was held in police custody for about 15 hours, after which he was put under official investigation for active corruption, misuse of influence, and obtaining information through a breach of professional secrecy. This investigation lasted almost 6 years, and the trial was finally held in November of 2020. During the course of the investigation, the police taped a recording of a conversation between Nicolas Sarkozy and his then lawyer Thierry Herzog. This recording is one of the centerpieces of the case, as Nicolas can be heard telling his lawyer, "I'll get him promoted, I'll help him," referring to Gilbert Azebert. And by all standards, that sounds like bribery. Throughout the course of the trial, Sarkozy denied all wrongdoing, and his team continued to argue that the case was based on evidence obtained through the invasion of Sarkozy's privacy. But at the end of the day, the former president was found guilty of corruption, trading in influence, and wiretapping an illegal data exchange case. Sarkozy was sentenced to 3 years, 2 of them suspended, 1 in prison. Gilbert Azebert and Thierry Herzog were also tried and given the same sentence for disclosing confidential information for professional favors. Right now, Sarkozy is not behind bars because his appeal is still pending, and it could take a long time before it's responded to. Although Sarkozy is not the first president of France to be found guilty in court, he could be the first to spend time in prison if the appeal isn't granted. Shortly after the corruption trial, a new criminal trial against the former president was set in motion. This one is popularly known as the Big Million case, which claimed that Sarkozy's unsuccessful campaign in 2012 was funded using money obtained illegally. This corruption trial involved allegations that Nicolas Sarkozy directed millions of euros towards the re-election campaign and hired a PR firm to cover it up. In fact, instead of spending money on the right causes, it was used to fund lavish campaign rallies and events. At the end of the day, Sarkozy's campaign cost at least 42.8 million euros, which was almost double the legal limit of 22.5 million euros. For this accusation, the former president was given a jail time of 1 year. However, he was given the option of serving a sentence under house arrest with an electronic ankle bracelet. With all of these allegations, it's safe to say that Nicolas Sarkozy's political career has gone up in flames. In 2017, Sarkozy attempted to return to politics by running for president. But someone who was once the unanimous choice of his party came in 3rd place for the party's choice of their presidential candidate. Obviously, it wasn't going to work anymore, at least not as easy as it used to. Sarkozy, who has denied every single allegation made against him, he said on different occasions that the investigations against him were intended to derail his career. This classic grace to grass story was caused mainly by his bad decisions while he was in power. But what if this all was a big setup and Sarkozy was just caught in all of it? Whatever the case, damage is done, probably far beyond repair. However, Nicolas Sarkozy continues to be an influential figure in French politics, which brings us to the end of the video. Thanks for watching the Playboy and Manipulative lifestyle of Nicolas Sarkozy.